What's up, everybody? This is your boy Notes 215. Welcome to my YouTube podcast, Killakicks, and today we have a very special guest. That I'm very excited of. We actually have Racslife on the phone with us. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. How about you tonight?
I'm happy. So I just want to. I always go to back to the beginning of everything. You know, when life was a little bit more simple. You know, we all have this profession sometimes that we sometimes forget. You know, just about the more simpler things in life. So tell me about like when you actually first started to get into like the shoe culture, and before you even knew that that this was actually like a culture. Like, what was like buying sneakers for you, like in your time, coming up?
Yeah, man. I'm an '80s baby. I was born in '83, so like most people, my age, it didn't feel like we were participating in any kind of culture. We grew up in the time when I guess the shoes that sort of became the foundations of this culture were just the shoes that were coming out through the years. The shoes that were on shelves, the shoes that our friends wore on the playground. And for me, my father was a very good athlete. He played at a very high level in college, and he was a pro prospect and things along those lines. So when we came along, my brother and I, he was already very hip into sportswear and Jordan and Nike, and wanting us to be fresh. So unlike a lot of people, who might have stories of like trying to convince their parents to buy them expensive shoes and whatnot, I kind of came up laced up. I had Air Jordan 1s before, I could ever remember what shoes I was wearing. So I guess I just kind of came up in it. And, again, we were just really weren't aware. If you're in my age group, there's definitely moments, there's definitely sneakers that stand out, and you definitely remember being conversation pieces and whatnot. But in general, it was just about, playing sports and having the best shoes to do that, and hitting on girls and having the best shoes to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it was always about, you have to have the right shoes to actually talk to the right girls. So,
For sure.
so you having these shoes, and was you aware of the popularity, and what they were, or like was you just kind of like just nonchalant, like this shoe actually looks cool, so I actually want it?
I was really, really, really into basketball. I know that people that follow me now, having a hard time probably imagining, 10 to 15 years ago and 100 to 155 pounds ago. But I was very into basketball. I was, what most people would consider a jock or whatever in middle school and high school. So I had that aspect of it where I always wanted to be in, the latest and greatest, and it was always sold to us that Jordan was the latest and greatest. And then besides that, I've just always had, I guess a unique style. So I've always liked not wearing what everyone was wearing. I certainly remember like the shoes popping up. One that a lot of people don't talk about is the Air Jordan 9. In my middle school years, that shoe was like freaking everywhere. In that olive colorway and that black and white colorway that's about to come back. And I remember those shoes and several other shoes obviously being popular, but I was like in the Kamikaze Reebok, which was a very popular shoe at its time too, but it was kind of like the other shoe compared to the Nikes and the pennies and stuff that were popping off. So I've always kind of been like a mixture of really being into sports and wanting like the best athletic footwear, and then kind of having like my quirky own little style and trying to do my own thing. I used to draw all over my shoes too. Like I never had a clean pair of shoes. That didn't start until I was like 25 years old. Before then, I would always like splash paint on them or color them or dip them in some shit or whatever.
Now, was those shoes like kind of it's funny that you even mentioned that, because I remember just I couldn't imagine being in school now, because in school now, like, it's just like one narrow thing is everybody have Jordans, and it's like if you don't have
Yeah.
Jordans, you're not the shit. But I kind of remember,
Yeah.
like, just like in my middle school and high school era, where you had kids that had J's, and you had kids that had New Balance, and you had kids that wore Vans, and it was just like a mixture of just shoes in general.
Right.
Was there ever a moment, like you being in school and it's like somebody's like, oh shit, like those are like the fucking Jordan ones, like those are the fucking shoes that I was talking about. Like, did that ever happen to you?
I think, do you mean in particular, did I ever recognize Jordan for what it was,
Well,
in the time, or you just mean the shoes in general?
Well, I mean, like, just like the shoes in general, because we always hear about these stories about, the one kid being in class and seeing somebody else wearing J's, and the fact that you was into basketball and you knew
Yeah.
about these shoes already. Did you ever have like somebody like kind of like starstruck, like, oh shit, like those are the fucking, like, my mom can't buy me these, like, you like like what you have on is like the shit.
It was definitely like a social advantage, right? Like I was always in some kind of fresh kicks, and all my clothes had swooshes on them and whatnot. I mean, I was just very lucky for that to have been what I wanted to wear and what my parents wanted me to wear. That's it's a very rare thing. Most parents want you to have like a polo collared shirt on and some khakis and stuff. And my parents were both young and very hip, and they dressed us that way, and that's what I wanted to wear anyway. So, I mean, it definitely stood out. I mean, me and just a couple of my friends who we're still close today, still into style, still into streetwear and sneakers and things like that. And we were like the only ones who really got it back then. But definitely a couple pairs of shoes, that we rocked with back then were like cultural staples. The Air Jordan 11 was insane, even when it first dropped. The first penny Hardaway, I would probably say, is like the first time that everyone I knew wanted a single pair of sneakers. And I think that's interesting because, like you said, now high school might be a lot of Jordans, but even now I think, if you're growing up right now, you like LeBron, so maybe you wear LeBrons or KDs, or, Harden's about to have his own sneaker. I've even seen some kids that consistently rock Westbrook stuff, which, we wouldn't think of as being popular at all. And I think the same was true when I was coming up. Like, we were aware Mike was the best. We were aware that his sneakers were supposed to be the greatest. But shoes like the Air More Up-Tempo that Pippen wore, the Kamikazes I mentioned before, the first pennies, those were those were real problems on the playground. Those were real big deals. I got the very first date that I ever got with a girl that I really liked, and that had never paid any attention to me for having the penny ones on. and that started that conversation. That shoe's extremely special to me for that reason. So there's a lot of great shoes from that era. Yeah. And I think like you were saying before, it was like a different time. We knew Mike was great. We knew his shoes were great, but there was a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot of good stuff. And it was kind of like, I kind of missed that era when you could just wear stuff and everything would be equally hot. Like, like you mentioned, like the Kamikazes, like just like the aesthetics of that shoe, like the way that shoe looked, that hunter green with black from a mile away just looked fucking fresh. So like
CB34s too. I mean, Barclays were just all over the place. It was just a good time. I mean, you could hardly miss.
Yeah. Now it's I mean, and we could get into that like later on, because I know that you was at that sneaker con, but it kind of seems like as far as the young generation, you really don't see that diversity that that we are used to seeing in the 90s and even in the early 2000s. So you're getting into these shoes. So okay, so you're the guy who has these shoes already. Now, how did you actually find out that there was a culture now behind this? That there's like actually like people that's like taking this shit like seriously and like really like collecting shoes. And now
I was really, really late to understanding that. Like I never, I wasn't like a part of Nike Talk or anything like that. And that's kind of funny because a lot of like quote unquote OG sneakerheads will be like, you weren't there for Nike Talk. I'm like, yeah, I was there before Nike Talk. I was there so long before Nike Talk that Nike Talk doesn't even equate, you know?
Yeah.
But basically,
You was there for the IBM era.
Yeah,
You was there for the IBM era.
Literally there, right? I was growing up, so I'm sorry I didn't have the time. But when I had just gotten out of college, I had started a business with a couple people, and the premise of the business was that we would create video yearbooks for high schools and colleges in New York City, which was really cool. It kind of kept us young. We got to be in high school every day and film their sporting events and their proms and their this and their that. And then we would edit it up into a DVD, which was the format of the time. At the end of the year, all the students would get this like recap of their whole year. And we were real young and hip and cool, so it always had like the most relevant music and hip hop and fashion and all these other things. So we my business partners and I, we were young guys, but we were also, had our finger on the pulse. We were in the streets, so to speak, in the school still. And I just amassed, like I think anyone who makes money for the first time, you just go back and get all kinds of things you always wanted,
Yeah.
And when I first started going back and getting, Jordans that I hadn't owned or whatever it was, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was going back and getting the original Game Boy and all the games I didn't have. And, I was just going back for anything.
You was just going ham, huh?
Anything I missed, And a buddy of mine that was working with me was like, yo, if I was looking for a particular shoe, and I can't think of which one it is now, but he was like, yo, I think they're coming back out. There's this guy on YouTube, Sneak Geeks. Have you ever seen it? And I was like, no, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he showed me Sneak Geeks, and Sneak Geeks at the time was showing you shoes that were coming out, a couple months earlier or whatever. And it was kind of before, like, I was even hip to the idea of, like, a sneaker blog, I was just out getting the things I wanted. I wasn't paying attention to all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he showed me Sneak Geeks. I watched a few Sneak Geeks videos. YouTube suggested somebody else. They started saying things like, I got this information from Nice Kicks or Kicks on Fire, so that made me aware of that. And before I knew it, I was like, I guess kind of in it. I don't know. I thought the whole thing was goofy. I still kind of do.
Yeah.
But I was aware that the information was being shared. There was a lot more people into it than I thought. Like I really seriously thought at the time that I'm talking about, it was like me and my 20 friends. Because the people outside of that circle thought we were crazy. The people that we ran into every day, the people that we worked with or hung out with or whatever, thought it was nuts that we had 200 pairs of sneakers. Like, they thought that was bonkers crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole world is telling you crazy, and then you stumble on, this corner of the internet where there's thousands of people doing it, and it's kind of just like, what? I mean, honestly, it made me feel like everybody else, like maybe I was crazy because all these people look crazy. But it was kind of cool to know, like, oh no, there's a lot of people into this.
So I mean, like, now you're starting to realize that there's a culture, and I'm kind of glad that you said that, because I'm kind of like in the same boat. Like, I started, I guess, all this just working at a sneaker store when Sneaker Villa was just a Pennsylvania thing. And and like just like working out of shoes, and just growing up in New York, I just you just can't help it but to look down and to see what people are wearing. So
right.
It's I definitely was on the late boat too, and then once I met a homie of mine, and he started to put me onto YouTube, and then kind of like the same thing, Sneak Geeks, and then Kicks on Fire, and I'm like, holy shit, like, and then trading, and I'm like, yo, people actually like trade shoes. So then like that started like that started a whole new thing for me. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, for me, I want to say it was actually like around the LeBron 7. I remember seeing the LeBron 7 on LeBron and being like, that shoe's fucking dope. And then I saw it in Foot Locker. I think I picked up that first Cavs colorway, and I just thought it was dope. And then I wore it. I think that's what I was wearing when homie was like, you could see like the next 5 colors coming out. Look, and showed me that like there's media for this. There's news coverage for the next 4 loops. I mean, before then, I was just like, if I saw a shoe I thought was cool, I copped it. If the player was wearing it, that made it a whole lot easier.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, and I definitely kind of understand. So did that make you get into like reading more in terms of like shoes, in terms of blogging, or like how did like the interest like kind of spark you in terms of the article standpoint of it?
So writing came like way later in my involvement in the thing. I think the thing that started it for me was, I found pieces of YouTube that I thought were really, really great. Nightwing 2303, early Mr. Foamer Simpson, those rooftop videos, or in his backyard. He used to make me fucking cry laughing. Like early Foamer Simpson is some of the best stuff, and I think Nightwing is like consistently the best. In fact, like he's the only thing I really check for on a regular basis. But when I started to realize, started to see that stuff and stuff that I thought was really good at the time, it just was like a no-brainer for me. I was a professional video editor. I have a master's degree in graphic design and film. It was like, I love sneakers. I had more sneakers than anybody I personally knew. So I was like, I'm going to get into YouTube. And then YouTube has always been, I have the biggest love-hate relationship with YouTube. So when the opportunity came to make some money with sneakers, that opportunity was in doing some freelance writing. And I was like, yeah, I could see like a space there. I could see something, I could bring something to that. Sneaker media, like even to this day, is like real, for the most part. I mean, there's obviously people who stand out, but it's pretty rudimentary. And I thought that there was some more to say, maybe. And I had a couple good pieces, and those pieces got good attention, did good traffic, and led to me having a very short tenure, but a good couple months running Kicks on Fire.
So you going to school for video and editing kind of just made it easier for you. So I mean, was that like the sparkling point where like you was like, okay, I could get into YouTube, and like, because I have this one skill that, like, let's face it, majority of the people lack, or or like, was there more there to it?
Well, first of all, like, I don't know what you know me or what anybody listening to me knows about me, but I went to art school. I was a fine artist first. I was a graphic artist. I've always been an entrepreneur. I love film and comic books more than anything in the world. Like, I love those two things significantly more than sneakers.
Okay.
So for me, it was just like, I was curious about YouTube as a platform. I think sneakers was just like an easy subject. And I thought, like, let me just kind of gloss this up a little bit. I mean, it was real raw. We're talking like, when I first came in, it was like Franelations and Yo Auntie and Hess Kicks on iPhones. Like, you could barely make out the shoe. And a lot of like oohs and I don't know in the video, and just like, I just watching it, I was like, well, this doesn't make much sense. I mean, they could edit all that out. They could just go look up whatever it is they don't know, find the answer, come back, say the answer on camera, and cut out the last 5 useless minutes of that video, and just little things like that. I mean, it sounds like a diss. I don't mean it like a diss. It was just something like, I just saw the infancy of it. And I thought, like, with very minimal effort, I mean, I get quite a bit of praise for my editing or whatever, but nothing I've done on YouTube is even like 10% of my of my skill range, So I just thought, like, with like a little bit minimal effort, maybe I could like push the medium and just see what, like, how YouTube is going to shape up in this space, And I did my time there, and I think I was pretty influential. I think I definitely pushed it forward. Whether people openly say that or not, some have. And for the most part, I had a lot of fun. You know, I was just bullshitting. Like I was just doing fun, for me, like low bandwidth edits, talking about sneakers or something. You know, it's just fun stuff.
That kind of is very interesting because I always say that, you know, this is not the only thing that you should be interested in, because it you know, it can get, you know, very boring. So the fact that you're into you know, like just comic books and you know, and other things, that's, you know, that's kind of ill, because you kind of look at these people and you often wonder, like, is this all you're fucking into? You know, like,
you know what's funny about that is, like, and I get it, I totally get why I'm not like crying a river over here, but I'm so lumped into sneakers. Like I talk about sneakers a lot. I work in sneakers. I guess I'm a noted sneaker personality, or whatever you want to say. I've done a couple interviews like this one we're doing now, so people just associate me with sneakers. But to me, I'm like, I want this. I always say this about YouTube in particular, is like all the people that make like the disposable stuff that did much better than me at YouTube, they're going to leave a heap of crap behind, you know? They're going to leave, a heap of just crappy videos that 11-year-olds loved in a moment, and that's it. Like, I hope when I'm, you know, I'm already too old for this, when I'm way too old for this, like I could still look back at that catalog and it's pretty cool. I mean, if you go to my channel right now, it's still like, I'm not going to ever be upset that I was playing basketball with Dwayne Wade.
Yeah,
you know, I'm never going to be upset that there's video evidence of that, you know, or that me and my friend Icy went to Cincinnati and helped our friend Phil put out a Nike collab. Like that's never going to bother me that that's out there. I don't feel, you know, ashamed or embarrassed of that. And I'm not saying that other people should feel embarrassed of their work or whatever, but they know what they're doing, right? They're staying on top of this content thing. Content is king. It's got to come out every day, no matter what it is. Here's my 7th channel update video. I just want to let you guys know from now on, I'm going to be uploading at 3 p.m. That shit's going to live on forever. That's the, you know, that's the work that will quantify you. So for me, I understand why people, you know, categorize me as a sneaker dude or whatever. I love it. I'm not ashamed of it or anything like that. But I hope in the end, I'll be remembered as, I don't know, more like I hope these kids, because we're really talking about kids. I hope these kids grow up 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever, and they go into their 20s like, yo, that was like the only dude really doing it, you know? Like, that was the only dude like making cool shit. I want to go check that shit back out, you know? And I don't know that that's going to be the case. And I shouldn't have said only. I think Jacques and Nightwing and a couple other people do really good stuff. But I just hope that's where, you know, I'm just more of a creative or whatever. I was just a total weirdo, whatever it was. As long as it's not like, yo, he had a lot of nice sneakers, that would fucking kill me. You know, dude had 100. What do you think of Rack? Well, dude had 100 really dope sneakers. Like, no, man, come on.
You're at the guy's viewing, and you're like, yo, you know, this guy had a lot of shoes, man, and you know, he was just an amazing.
He really had a lot of shoes.
Yeah, he was just an amazing person while he was here on Earth. But one thing that's amazing, I guess, about YouTube is that everything is documented. Whether it's corny, whether it's trash, you know, this is documented for life, unless if some odd shit happens, like a fucking crash of this earth, where like YouTube is just like erased from the face of this earth. You know, like unless that happens, this is gonna be on like forever. So it's kind of cool that, you know, whether it's cheesy, I guess, you know, it's I kind of look at YouTube from like when I get old, like it's going to be like that cheesy like VHS like cassette that you just pop in and you're like,
you know what's dope though about that is like I've always put as much attention to detail in those. Like if you go find my home movies from when I was like 8, like I had scripts and my grandmother playing a part and my little brother, you know, doing this or that or whatever. So it's just like, it sounds like I'm knocking this platform and everybody else is doing corny shit, but that's not at all how I mean it. It's just a reflection of my personality. My personality is like, if I'm going to put up something, with my name on it. Like I don't want it to make me cringe, you know? And some stuff does. Like sometimes I fail at that. Some of the stuff I've done really makes me cringe. But for the most part, like it's a goal of mine to not have it be that way. And I understand that other people's goals are different. Other people's goals are, you know, get a check for going to SneakerCon, or fucking, you know, let YouTube be a full-time job, or get to 100,000 subscribers. All of those are, you know, other people's ambitions, and I respect that entirely. But for me, it's like I'm most proud of a video called Trains on my channel that's about riding the train. That has nothing to do with sneakers.
Well, yeah. I kind of when you started to get like back on the YouTube thing, like I kind of expected to be different because my first acknowledgement of you was the sit down with Don Drew, and I remember just listening to it, and I'm like, wow, these guys really don't fucking like, you know, YouTube. And at the same time, I really get where both of you guys was coming from, you know, like with the conversations. But at the same time, it's like, how much more different can you be? And I remember reading those comments that people was leaving, and I remember reading a comment from like this kid, like he seemed so distraught because he was like, oh my God, like, you know, I want to know how can I make like the best YouTube channel, and like how can I edit it, you know, and like, so it's like, does this become like a professional platform where it has to look that professional, or, you know?
No, I don't think so, man. I would just think like the general rule would be, like all things in life, he who does it best gets the furthest. But the thing about YouTube that's really cool, that's really groundbreaking, is that's not necessarily true. I think with YouTube, he who does the most gets the furthest. Mm-hmm. Like if you could stand to do 3-4 uploads like some of these guys do every day, you get the furthest. And I just acknowledged really early on that I had absolutely no desire to do that, you know. I'd rather there only be 14 videos up there and all of them be halfway decent. To me, you know, and I'm only talking about my opinion. You can't control other people's opinions. No, and you know, some people probably think that shit's hot trash, and that's cool. But to me, because it's got my name on it, because it's Racslife, my life, I gotta put up stuff that I'm okay with.
Yeah, because everything, you know, people don't understand that everything is according to one, the time that you have, and two, what do you think that people are going to like. And I remember, you know, having a conversation.
And what's your goal too? I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but what's your goal is like really important. There's some people who make a career out of YouTube. They gotta get something up every day. Like I don't know if you've ever seen when. I don't know if you've ever seen when they don't, but shit gets ugly. You know?
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to take away from those people. Like, I don't want to be just over here talking about how the way I wanted to do it was the right way. Absolutely not. There's people making, you know, full-time career out of it because they're busting their ass and they're making a bunch of stuff I would never watch personally. But fuck me. It's all about the 11-year-old kid, you know, cashing their check. So I respect those guys tremendously.
Well, kind of like where I was going to get to is that I guess it's expected. Like I was having a conversation with a coworker of mine, and he's like, "Yo, dude, man, you gotta post videos like every day, man, if you want your channel to be something." And I'm like, "Why should I have to post a video every day?" Like, first of all, there's finances that are involved, and not everybody's fucking rich to buy a pair of shoes to review every fucking day. And
well, most people return them when they're done with the video. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but that's really the move.
I'm pretty sure, but then at some point, like it just becomes, you know, a race, like who could post it first, and it's like, you know, okay, like fine, like, you know, it's all about, I guess, your personal following, and you know,
you're absolutely right, man. I mean, we have to be careful because I just like. You're talking to me, and people love to paint me as his asshole, and the people that we're talking about are generally pretty sensitive. So, I mean, I gotta open up with all due respect, much love, get money, and all those things. But the other end of it is like, yeah, you're opening shoes on camera, bro. There's not that much to it. I'm not going to get that excited. Not at 33 years old. I'm sorry, but I'm not your target audience. I'm not what you're trying to do, and I wish you the best. It's fucking, dude, that's dope. To some, like, the thing I think that'll come with time, will come with perspective, is like, how much work are you doing to say that you don't work for anyone else? I mean, you work for like, a good YouTuber really works harder than it would be to just go get a 9-to-5 job they're trying to avoid. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's good at YouTube, is a legitimate YouTuber, has a boss. Their boss is a bunch of 11-year-old kids that they're constantly apologizing to. I'm sorry I was late on the upload. I'm sorry I missed last Thursday. I wanted to get those shoes, guys, but they sold out. I'm sorry. Your boss, your boss is in your comments yelling at you every damn day. Your boss is the guy at the end of every video you say, I love and appreciate you all so much. I'd be nowhere without you. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it's like, I saw that. I saw what it would take. I respect the shit out of it. I want no part of it. I'm not doing anything that you can consume for free and then thanking you for participating. If YouTube was like this one-sided thing where I could make really cool shit, I would spend 3 months making real films and put it out. And if it was one-sided where all I got was like, yo, thank you, or here's $1, or damn, that was dope, that'd be awesome. But the fact of the matter is, if you really want to make it on YouTube, you have to pander. You're pandering to your audience. You're doing what they expect or want from you. And I don't. Everyone has a boss. So the fact that your boss is your audience doesn't. I'm not trying to insult you saying that. I'm just trying to say, like, that's not a position in which I wanted to create or exist. It's just like,
but kind of like what I was getting to was just that everybody has a different audience. Like we all constantly. I mean, anybody who has a YouTube channel is constantly say the word subscribe. Subscribe. So it's like almost like
you have to. I did it. Yeah.
Right. It's like spam mail. So basically, if they subscribe to you, is because they fuck with your content and now you belong to them, basically.
That's the way they feel, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and if you want to make real money, yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of mentioned like Sneak Geeks, and his downfall, and a couple YouTubers' downfall after that was just the not knowing of the whole fake shoes. Reviewing fake shoes and having fake shoes, and not knowing that they were fake shoes, and etc. Back then that was like, they fucking crucify you. Where now, and I always say this, and I will always continue to say this, a lot of people's favorite YouTubers, will review fakes at one point or another. What is your whole what do you think about these people that have these early release shoes that are releasing them like 5 months and 6 months before release date?
Well, 5 or 6 months is too far out. And I don't want to talk about these people without saying that I've reviewed fake shoes before too, because if I do that, then they're going to think I'm talking down on them. And so I think everyone knows, but I'll just preface with that. So that I don't know, that I don't look like some giant asshole. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, I don't really care what anybody has, what anybody wears. I think that would be real weird. I was talking earlier about how I think some of this stuff looks real strange. I think being entirely in the sneakers, like, I see people passionate and like striking out on Yeezys fucks up their whole week and shit like that. Like, I think that's strange. But stranger than that, like, I think the strangest level of this whole thing is when you really care what a stranger you don't know has or wears. Like, that shit to me is like, that's like mind-boggling. I can't even fathom that. I have too many people in my real life that I really care about on some real shit to be worried about, like, somebody told me that somebody at sneaker_fiend91 had a fake pair of shoes on in fucking Nova Scotia. Like, that shit means nothing to me.
Right. Well, not
it couldn't matter less. But I think one of the most important things about all the fake stuff is that there's just some level of transparency. You know, if you want to wear it and not tell people they're fake or whatever, I mean, who cares? But I hope to God that no one's still out there, you know, ripping people off or trying to sell them fake shit without telling them, or whatever kind of nonsense might get into that. I think that's really the only time or space where it makes any sense to give that any energy or attention, you know?
Right, because it has to be. But at the same time, you know, not that you have to care for it, but if you're, if you don't know shit about anything, and you sitting down and you're watching this channel, and somebody's reviewing a fucking fake, and you're like, okay, you don't know that the shoe is a fake, but then you go out and buy a fake shoe. You was deceived by the like.
Yeah, well, I mean, fake. You know what's the bigger problem there is just the false information, and you get false information from legit guys too. You know how many times I've seen all the leather's butter, leather's all great, go out. Oh my God, I love this shoe, and I know for a fact this shoe is synthetic leather. You know, or this shoe was inspired by this, that, and the other thing, and it wasn't. It was inspired by this, that, and the other thing. I think in general, you have to educate yourself. You can't depend on, you know, YouTubers or even the blogs. I mean, the blogs just yesterday, the Hyper Adapt was $1,000 all morning until somebody actually checked with Nike and said, "Hey, it's $750." I mean, you have to really stay. I mean, if it matters to you, like right. I always feel so silly. Like, you have to stay on top of your sneaker knowledge. You have to know yourself. Like, in reality, you don't. Who cares?
Yeah.
But but for the context of this conversation, you know, I wouldn't trust any of these people, any of these jokers, to always be right 100% of the time. And I think they would tell you the same thing. Like, yo, I'm not right 100% of the time. I don't always know what I'm talking about. And so, you know, you can go to the definitive sources, and that's what I would say to do. If you want to see what a sneaker looks like, wait for Nike to show you. You want to buy a sneaker safely, wait for it to come out at an authorized account. There you go.
And it's kind of, but and I definitely hear like what you're saying, because there's a lot of people that constantly deceive these reviews, and they say that they're like great leather and they're a great thing, but it's like at the same time, it's like are you in the moment, or are you being honest? And I think that a lot of YouTubers...
Not only that, like, is how useful is that really, right? Like, there's this veil that's so useful that B, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever, this person is telling me this shoe is really great quality, it's buttery. Like, let's really dissect that. First of all, who the fuck is this? Who is this guy? What does he really know about sneakers, the manufacturing process, about materials, about the grain of leather, about the different cuts of leather? What does he really know? Okay, assume he knows all that stuff. And then you have to add like a 10% variance for him being incorrect, misinterpreting something, reading the label wrong, whatever it is, right? And then you have to value his opinion. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything, because buttery is not a real adjective. It doesn't mean something. Mm-hmm. It just really doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody were to say to you, like sometimes Nightwing does, look at the cut here, you know, where the aglets meet, where the laces are, you could see this is a full grain leather, and here's why. You know, it's twice as thick as it was on last year's or the previous retro, and then you're getting some real information that you can quantify. Mm-hmm. You can form your own opinions. But if you just take opinion, and then plenty of people do, and plenty of people just take my opinion. Mm-hmm. Boom, okay, whatever. The bottom line is, like, so-and-so, whoever he is, in the basement of wherever he is, holding up a shoe in a dimly lit room telling you it's buttery, really just doesn't mean anything. It's just like, you're really watching that video because you like that person or you enjoy that video, because you're not learning You're not learning anything about the way that shoe is made, or whether or not it's worth your money.
Right. I mean, like, you just want to see the shoe, and I get
That's
it.
it. Yeah.
Because I mean, I always find myself in that boat where I'm explaining the material, and then like in the back of my head, I'm like, does it fucking matter? I mean, people are still going to buy it. People are still going to wear it. At the end of the
really
day,
too much sometimes. Man.
At the end of the day, they just want to see a 360 of the shoe and just call it a day.
Sneaker reviews aren't even reviews. Like, because for it to be a review, by definition, you have to see if it stands up to the claim that's made. That's the purpose of a review.
Right. So you have
the
to
only
wear it
person
first.
I've ever seen do a sneaker review is Nightwing.
Right.
He says, this is the newest shoe. It's supposed to have this kind of traction. It's supposed to offer this kind of impact protection. I'm going to go put 80 hours in it and let you know for sure. That's a quantifiable, real, actual stress test review.
Mm-hmm.
Me pulling it out of the box and going, yeah, this is butter, sniff, sniff, lick the sole. It's not doing anything. I didn't review anything. I don't even tell you what they're claiming it is, right?
Right.
Say I pick out a pair of Sauconys. If I don't tell you that Saucony said, oh, this is, Horween leather or whatever, and I don't test that fact, I just sniff and go, oh, look, it's buttery. Ooh, I love it. You should love it too. Then I didn't review anything, I really didn't do much of anything at all. And I'm not saying personally, I spent years watching those videos, so I'm not knocking anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that's not why you're watching those videos. You're not really walking away having learned anything, unless you just absolutely didn't know the shoe existed, what colors it was, and how much it cost. But I mean, that before you click the link.
Right, because everything is in the description already. So
or on your Twitter last week.
Yeah.
It's just a different mindset, and it's also a lot of younger kids, and they're just generally a lot more excited about this stuff.
Mm-hmm,
It's a whole different world. It's a totally different perception from where they're at, and they're enjoying it, and God bless them for enjoying it. I mean, I was into much worse stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I was in way cooler sneakers, but I was into much worse stuff. So I appreciate these kids having like a good, positive thing to be into, having some good, positive role models out there, and just generally having a good time.
And definitely, I mean, getting them, I guess, to do something. Rather than to be, I guess in the street or constantly like watching one thing, it's a productive thing. So it's a double-edged sword, and I get it. People don't, there's, for every one person that hates it, there's like a couple more people that love it, so it's it
yeah, man. And for those years of my life that I have stories of copping and breaking down and reselling weed, they've got stories of doing the same thing with last week's Jordans, man, and I'd much rather that,
Yeah. So
I think it's awesome.
So how did your involvement with Kicks on Fire actually started, and how that actually came about?
Jazzy brought me on. So at the time, Jazzy was the operations manager there, and she liked whatever it was I was doing, and we started talking, and then, like I said, I just came on part-time writing, knocked out a few pieces, and they kept me kind of like on featured, so writing like long-form stuff, not like these Nikes coming out next Friday stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And then that worked out, and she ended up leaving, and the owner there, Khan, was like, yo, you need to fill her spot. So there's a consistent guy named Juan there. He's the editor-in-chief, and for the most part, he does all the content calendar and, stays on top of the staff, babysitting and whatnot. But just like to take over the overall, like, vision of the site and where it was going to go, it was like in a historically bad spot when I came on. So yeah, I had a couple ideas. I got to implement a couple of them. There was a lot of pushback, and it's not cheap to do good work, and and they kind of had built a business by running it very cheaply, to be frank. So in the end, it was like a difference of opinion. Me and the owner now, like, really don't get along, but it has nothing to do with anything that happened during my time there. As far as my time there went, it was just like he wanted more from me than he was paying me to do, basically. And also like not empowering my decisions. Like a really good example of it, it was like one of the changes I wanted to make right off the bat was that when you visited the site, it would have a cover story, and that cover story would live at the very top of the site, and like a lampshade, you would like pull it down over the site. So from anywhere in the site, you'd be able to like reach up with your finger on a touch screen or with your mouse and pull down the cover story, and it would have these great big illustrations, and it would be written by featured writers. And I had asked Pete Forrester to do the first one. Pete Forrester is like a real fantastic sneaker writer. Writer in general. And I couldn't, and so like I had this whole idea. I had the UI designed. I booked a really well-known writer, had some good subject matter, kept it all in what I thought was a great budget, and nobody got paid to do it.
Wow.
So Pete's like, "Are we still doing it?" I'm like, "I can't get the money. I'm not getting paid to have this kind of a headache, and the developer's not getting paid to do the work to have that kind of a feature on the site." And so it's just like not going to happen. So I just like spun. So here I kind of came up with an idea. I mean, you still don't see that anywhere in the space. So I mean, here almost a year later, it's still a couple years ahead of the curve, and it just wasn't supported. So a lot of I don't know, doing a whole lot of nothing really, just having great ideas that were being ignored. So it just didn't really vibe out.
And it's kind of crazy because my early remembrance of Kicks on Fire, and the only time when I actually think that Kicks on Fire was exciting was when Jacques Slade was knocking out those reviews every Friday, of just like the weekly stuff. And it was kind of, I think at that time, I didn't see him from any other blog site, that was the only time where I could actually see a blog site that was getting the YouTube involved. But now we kind of just see the repetitive of just what blog is. Every blog is the same, and I don't know. I guess
you're being so nice, man. Sneaker blogs suck. I'll just make it real we'll just get that.
I'm getting to it now. Yeah. I'm just saying in my time, and I'm this is the only early 2000s to 2003s. Now it's just a bunch of I don't even get excited about reading blogs because everything is the fucking same. Every article is written the fucking same. There's nothing.
But look at where those people are now. Like to go back to Jacques at Kicks on Fire. Jacques wasn't making. I could tell you, he wasn't making nearly enough money to put in that work. But he's a visionary. He knew it was a platform. He knew he's always put in an ungodly amount of work. He is right now putting in an ungodly amount of work. And sure, he's built his own name now, and he's got his own platform, and he's doing incredible things like nobody else is doing, and he's got access that no one else has. But I'm sure in his mind, he's just still building. He's got this vision. He's got to get to a point where someone's helping him with that immense workload, and he can afford his staff. And I mean, that's where he's headed. And he must have visualized that back in the day that he was doing all that work. Making Kicks on Fire as relevant as it was at the time. The difference between Jacques and I is I'm absolutely not going to sweat like that for something that isn't mine. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, the amount of money that I was getting paid, they were very lucky that they got what they did get out of me. And it's just a difference of personality. I've gone on and done other things I'm really proud of. But this whole time I've been in sneaker social media or sneaker media in general, I've just been trying to have a good time and make a buck doing it. I'm not trying to build some kind of platform or be some kind of influencer. If any of that stuff happens, it's entirely by accident. I've got my real day jobs. They happen to be in sneakers, but they're professional professional office jobs in the sneaker industry. I'm not out here like, really trying to be the most subscribed to or, make my own way, so to speak, with that. So lots of love and respect to those guys that are really doing it well, especially Jacques. I think Jacques is a great example, man. Lots of love for everything I see him do and the vision that he's had. And like I said, I think he's like just getting started. He's probably, in his mind, he's probably like in kindergarten right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's got a long way to go. He thinks about Cheeks on Fire probably like as preschool.
Right.
But to all of us, it looks like amazing, everything he's done,
Right, because it's just been so many years, and I had to date back to that because it's like now there's nothing really exciting, and that's why I was kind of, like really getting to as far as blogs, there's nothing really exciting. Everything is the same. What would take a blog to like actually really fucking pop off that would separate itself totally immensely from everything that's just like fucking dished out every day at 11 o'clock on the dot?
Stop curating. That's step one. So early 2010 and before then, all of these blogs started and made an immense amount of money by curating. There was this information that they would get from line sheets from retailers or from the brands directly or from press releases that we, the general public, we didn't have. So we had to go to their website where they brought it all together. And we all had our favorites and we all checked those timelines on their .coms every day. That world has changed. Twitter, Instagram, we curate the internet for ourselves every day. I don't see anything on the internet that I don't want to see. And things that I want to see, I bring, right dead in front of me every day when I log on. Twitter and Instagram, it all flies right before me. I can't miss it. Can't miss anything I care about. So the idea that a site's going to tell me something I don't already know or curate all that information for me, like, I think that's dead, right? There's not a shoe that you need to know the release date of that you wouldn't see on your Twitter feed before you went to wherever.com, or a first look that wouldn't hit IG or Twitter way before it hit the blog. The blog is now sourcing, if they're doing a good enough job to give credit to the sources, they're sourcing Twitter accounts and Instagrams. They're getting beat to the punch, so to speak. So curation is you have to create content. You can't curate it and win anymore, in my opinion. I think that goes without saying. So the first step would be get out of that mindset. Don't race to be the fifth person to tell me, when it's specifically the Jordan 11 is going to drop this holiday, right? Don't get in that rat race. I've already seen it. There's an app that'll notify me. I'm good. I think step two is create new content, your own something, I did the Sneaker Hunter like 5 years ago. That was a totally original concept. Show up in random public places and talk to people about the sneakers they're wearing. That at the time, like, launched my whole whatever YouTube career or whatever. Got me any attention that I've had ever since then, and it still hasn't been done again. And I'm not saying, hey, go copy that idea. I'm just saying, like, doing an unboxing a different way is not moving away from unboxings, if that makes sense. So everybody criticizes the blogs and the YouTube channels for always doing the same shit, and their response is always like, fine, I'll mix up the way I do my unboxings. And I just slam my head on the table like, no. So adding a different camera angle or doing it through Google Glass or hanging upside down or unboxing in an elevator, it's still an unboxing video. It's still the same shit. You're still curating. Go out and make something new. Then the other thing, and the last bit that I would suggest is, like, tell stories that, like, matter, that are interesting, that we don't know, You don't have to stop giving me the news if, you're so, I personally think, the time for the blogs doing that kind of stuff is past. But tell me something. Write a story, an editorial. You can make it 6,000 words long for all I care. If it's something I generally don't know is actually interesting and I can't find it on another site, or on my timelines, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like a good example of that is one of my best friends, John Geiger. You might have recognized the name.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting out a sneaker right now. It's called the 001. And I know the whole story, but no one's reached out to him and no one's covered it. And in the story is a kid was a managing partner with Darrell Revis, was going to open a store with Darrell Revis, worked on the Revis one, had pitched other ideas to Nike, had gotten shortchanged and done his own thing, built up his name on his own, split from Revis, continued to do it, put out things that really helped shape the culture, like the misplaced check and what that's done for what people, you know, used to think of as a customized sneaker. And now he's taken a sketch that he did back in 2013, and he's holding a sample in his hand. And not only that, it's an idea from the ground up. Mm-hmm. You know, when you talk about even like John Buscemi or Louis Vuitton, big, huge names, when they build a sneaker, they all start on the same rubber macrum sole that like everybody does. That's terribly uncomfortable, and that's why all those shoes look the same. Like John made a conscious effort to not ignore the most expensive and difficult part. He built his own sole and paid for the mold and ran the samples and sourced the materials and designed a crossover athletic lifestyle shoe. He's done all these things on his own. I'm really proud of him. He's one of my best friends. But that's also a story we've never been told. Yeah. We don't know, like the average person doesn't know why every luxury sneaker has the same sole.
Wow.
And the answer to that question is because you're about $15,000 to $20,000 in if you do your own. It costs a couple pennies to get the same sole as everybody else. So it's pre-manufactured, made in Italy, Vulcan rubber soles, you know? So just a little thing like that, or the number of samples that he's went through, or how much time it's taken him, how much money it's taken him, how many pairs he plans to release, the fact that he named it the 001 because he wants to do at least 100 designs. These are things that like people don't know because we don't care as a culture to tell those stories, to elevate those people. Like, we'd rather be like, yo, look over there, yo, Anthony's opening another fucking Jordan from Champs.
The Jordans are coming on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Please.
You know, and like people think I'm a really big asshole for saying it, but like I want to put my head through a wall. I'm like, I know what, and John's not even the only one. I know what the people doing real things are doing, and you don't. Only because, you know, the people who could tell those stories or bring light to those things or shape the culture in that way were more concerned with unboxings and fucking whatever buttery leather bullshit, you know?
Now, one person who was like the king of YouTube at one time, and it was funny because you actually said it, and it's like that shit went over everybody's heads. And I'm talking about Brad Hall, and you kind of said that the guy was an actor, but not like, you know, like now everybody finds out that the guy's an actor, like a real actor, and everybody's like, oh my God, oh, he lied to me. He's not really like that. Like when you kind of first saw him like on that channel, I'm pretty sure like you loved him because it was just so the opposite. Like, you know, you critique it so much that to finally have somebody that does like the dumb shit that comes out your mouth come like to real life, it must be like refreshing to you.
Well, first of all, shout out to Brad. Brad is very good to me and vice versa. We're very supportive of each other, and I appreciate Brad very much. So just in case he's listening, shout out to Brad, character name Brad.
I doubt that he'll be listening to this.
Well,
Not in my channel.
I'll share it. It should get over to him. But the thing I think I like about Brad the most, the Brad Hall channel, was it shined a light, and I saw it in a perfectly lighthearted way, on how silly all this shit is. You know, I just went on a fucking rant about how people should be more passionate about my friend having made shoes, but like at the end of the day, I gotta check myself and pull my own leash and be like, we're fucking talking about shoes. I just got my heart rate up about shoes. Like, it's so dumb. It really is so dumb. Like on that end of it, like my very creative artist friend is doing something fucking real with his own money in his own hands, and I commend him for that. But like at the end of the day, like getting real upset or stupid about sneakers is like so stupid. And Brad, like, I think he did a great job, like just making fun of us, and I thought it was hilarious. Now, obviously, people are going to get their feelings hurt if they're really taking this shit this seriously. So to me, it was like, if you're as weird as Brad Hall is playing himself, then yeah, that's going to hurt your feelings. But God, I'm not that kind of weirdo. I'm not, if you can call me any other kind of name or classify me as any other kind of weirdo, but not the kind that would be insulted by Brad being an actor making fun of YouTube videos. Like, not at all. I wear his merchandise, actually. He sent me a few pieces, and I wear it regularly. I think that shit's awesome.
So can you actually like say the story, or do you know the story of what even sparked him to do that type? I mean, because when you hear an actor, like, you know, actors always tend to like get into like the whole Broadway shit, or they want to like really like act. But the fact that he's an actor and like he actually like made a YouTube channel and it's like, oh shit, like the funny part was that people actually thought that this shit was like legit, right? That he was like an actual, like he was really into.
Well, there's that. So first of all, man, let's acknowledge there's two sides to that conversation. So there's people that are that weirdo and that dumb that they didn't know. So like, we'll just that's a whole separate conversation we won't have. But yeah, there's a lot of people that dumb and that super weird about sneakers that they fell for it and B got mad about it. The second end of that conversation is what I do know about Brad is he does genuinely like sneakers. If he didn't, he wouldn't have been aware of that whole little corner of the world. Like, it seems really big to us, but it's super tiny, especially on YouTube. If you look at like a bird's eye view YouTube, then you zoom in on the biggest sneaker channel, which I believe is Kick Genius. Those guys would tell you they got a pretty small channel, like in the grand scheme of things, you know? So I do believe that Brad is a sneaker fan, is aware of sneaker YouTube, is probably a fan of it, but he could just, like we've been saying, he could just see how silly all of it, like, you know, is at the end of the day. None of my other, and I don't want anybody to be insulted, none of my other passions are any less silly. I watch movies back to back. I read comics over and over. Yeah. You know, this shit is all silly. Yeah. It's all fun. I think he just thought he could bring something to it. He could just make fun of it and have fun, and that's all he seems to be doing as far as I can tell. Just having a good time.
And I mean, I enjoyed him, and like when I was watching, I was just fucking laughing. If you didn't laugh, just looking at him and just the way that he was describing if you didn't laugh, then it's like I seriously don't know what the fuck was wrong with you, because to me it was like the funniest thing ever. But at the same time,
so there was definitely some people out there that was like, but this is what he's clowning what I really am, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry for you. I'm not apologizing about half of Brad. I'm sorry that that's your life.
Well, at the end of the day, at the end of the day,
snap out of it.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a culture, you know, whether you like it or not, you know, even like YouTube in a whole, it's a fucking culture. Like, we're all like a part of like this YouTube culture where it's like the easy way to know of shit. It's like nobody's Googling anymore. Everybody's YouTubing, like how to do this, how to fucking do that, how to wear this. I mean, you'll be amazed of the shit that, you know, that people review on YouTube. So it is a culture.
I think culture and community are just easy words, though. They're just an easy way for me to say something and you immediately know what I'm talking about. If I say sneaker culture, you know who and what I'm talking about. But in the end of the day, it's just a generation. We're just a generation of kids, and now it's in its second or third generation of kids that grew up in hip-hop, in graffiti art, in sneakers, in cars, and fucking, you know, collectible toys and comic book movies. Like, this is just our time. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean? I know it's like real hip or cool to say community or culture, and I certainly know what you mean when you say culture, and I know who you're talking about when you say community. But to me, it's just like, it's just our time. We're just 30-somethings now.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. You know, we're the adults. There's teenagers looking up to us, and that's what I mean. Kanye West is the trendsetter of the entire world. He's about to turn 40, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's literally just on the cusp of 40. It's just this is our time. You know, Jay-Z isn't a scary dude your mom doesn't want you listening to anymore. Jay-Z's a billionaire.
Right. What
you know what I'm saying? Who hangs with the president?
What's your whole opinion with this whole Nike and Adidas shit? Because at one point Nike did have the upper hand by having Kanye, and then, you know, people was fucking fiending for those, you know, those Yeezys, and, you know, he went over to Adidas and people was kind of scratching their heads and kind of wondering what it was going to be like, and it kind of shows you how, and there's no other way to say, but it kind of shows you how much of a dick rider people are, because I remember when the sample pictures first started surfacing around Instagram, people hated it. They're like, oh, it's not going to be nothing like in Nike. You know, Nike is still going to have the upper hand. And now, you know, fast forward, you know, anything that guy fucking touches, and Adidas is fire to the point where it's like he boosted that whole fucking brand. I'm not going to say on his own, because to me, I will always give credit to Y3. I think Y3, everything that Y3 did in the beginning, people just started to look at, you know, Adidas like in a different way. But then once they started to get
that whole first wave of designers made it even appealing to Kanye. So, you know, Y3, Stella McCartney, fucking Raf Simons, Rick Owens, they've all worked with Adidas, and that's why I think Wex even gets the meeting with Kanye about switching sides. So I definitely know what you mean. That's the runway on which they built that relationship for sure.
So do you think that Adidas is winning right now? Because everybody wants to be these fucking enthusiasts, and they want to look at the stock market. Oh, well, technically,
well, this
Nike
is unfair because I work in the industry, so I know if they're winning or not. And I'm probably not supposed to say, but I will say this: nobody is experiencing growth in the way that Adidas is. Not even close. Nike is down as of, I think, the last 2 quarters. But Nike could if Adidas can continue to have the exact same years that they've had over the last 2 years, and Nike could literally not sell a sneaker for those same 2 years, and Adidas wouldn't catch up. Not in the numbers.
Okay.
But what really matters is that, you know, you, I, our generation, culture, community, however you want to say it, knows that they're losing the streets, you know, and that hurts. They're losing the cool, and Adidas is really picking it up. And I think it's, you know, a perfect storm. They've got a great culture at Adidas. The things that are important to them are not generally important to Nike. You know, Nike is an athletics brand. They seem very diligent on remaining that way. Adidas has embraced the influencers and the musicians and the artists of our time. That's one aspect. Kanye is another aspect in and of himself. Boost is a tremendous piece of that. They have the best technology in the world, hands down. I mean, no one's going to put on a Boost shoe and says, you know what, I really prefer my Air Max 90. That's not going to happen.
And I argue with too many people that wear these like Flyknit racers, and I'm like, dude, it's not the fucking same. Like, you know, you're comparing.
Flyknit's great, you know. Flyknit's great. Unfortunately, Adidas was working on Prime Knit at the very same time, so Flyknit's not terribly advantageous to Nike, but they hit with Lunar. I think they've done good things with Lunar. It may have run its course. It's just not as new. It's not as responsive. It's not as immediately comfortable, and it quite frankly just doesn't stand out the way Boost does right now. But that's one arm of what's happening right now. And Nike can hit the next tech or sign the next athlete or work with a different rapper or whatever, and we see the whole pendulum swing again. So, it's just the nature of the business. It's not the first time Adidas has had their moment.
Right, but I think one thing that Adidas did very well, which they went back to what they used to do, which was relying on artists. So now where hip hop is like at a whole fucking different level. It's like now you have Kanye, you have Big Sean, now you have ASAP Ferg that just hopped on the fucking brand. So it's.
But Nike's hit. Nike just did Vlone, man. They just gave ASAP Ari Vlone.
Yeah.
An Air Force One. They gave him a clothing collection. They brought it out to Complex Con. If you had seen those lines in person, you would know it's absolutely alive.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Like, I don't know if that's enough. I don't know what comes next. I can't say what I do know. I just know that it's never ends. It's not going to be a fight. Like, it's not going to come to a definitive knockout on either end. Those two brands will forever be a part of the footwear industry, and they will forever do well. Adidas wasn't. When people say that nobody rocked Adidas wasn't doing badly. Adidas was a several billion-dollar company back in the quote-unquote no one wore Adidas days.
Do you think that the 3D printing is going to be like the next big thing to hit like the footwear, because we constantly keep on hearing about the boost with the with the 3D printing? And I was having a conversation actually. I think it was sometime earlier this year. I actually did a podcast with him because he's heavy into like 3D printing, and this whole year we've been hearing about 3D printing soles. Do you think that that's going to be like the next like big shit like to hit the market, that people are going to go ape wall for it?
Well, we'll see, man. Depends what they do with it. I mean, really, 3D printing is just a manufacturing process. It's not a product, right? It's a way to create a product. It isn't the product itself. So we have to see what they can do with that new technique, and I think that will help determine it. And I think different brands will do different things with it. And so it'll kind of be what we like best or what really works best.
Right. So we're going to you have a YouTube channel, which I actually enjoy a lot, because it's more of your life more than anything else. Like, just like from I see it, and I just don't get the sneaker thing. I could enjoy somebody who's into food like me. So just the fact that you're just showing food, you're doing like the shoe review whole thing, but then like you're showing your life, and kind of just like with this conversation, how we just went to the beginning, and you was a jock kid from school, and you had the fucking J's and everything. Did you think that your life was gonna be what it's like now? Because it in the screen it looks exciting. Like, it's like you said, like, I mean, like, you get to chill with fucking Wade and all these other guys. Like, like, what was your thought process even like doing all that?
Honestly, it was, first of all, it's been like 8 months since there's been an episode. And so in case anyone's listening, Racslife will be back at the start of 2017. So,
nice.
That's a nice little, I guess, a little tidbit to whoever still cares about that. But honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, the stuff that I managed to catch on camera is not as exciting as some of the stuff that I purposely left off camera. Life has just been really good. It's been really, really good. It's been even better over the course of these last 8 months. I'm in a place in the industry where I can really create, and that's what's been most important to me. I've actually left my name or any kind of claim or credit off a lot of the work that I've done, just because I'm just having just a blast doing it, just doing the work. It doesn't need to be all in everyone's face. Or if it is, one of the funniest things about being sort of anonymous with the work that I've been doing is I've seen it sell out to people who are constantly hating me, and they don't even know the core, like they're literally running around in something I designed or something that I put out. And in my Twitter mentions calling me a fat faggot boy or whatever. So it's been really cool. Sort of separating and taking a moment to just really like focus on creating or whatever. But I also am excited about 2017, kind of like coming back refreshed. And just like one of the reasons I took this, it was like a twofold thing with this 8-month break. It was, I was doing Racslife, and I felt like I had really separated myself from everybody else, and I was just like doing my own thing, and I was just having fun, and I was just making shit in case anybody might want to watch it. And then I ended up on a Complex list as like the number 7 best sneaker channel or whatever. And I was like, shit, I'm still lumped in this group. Like, no disrespect to anybody else that was on that list, but like I still had definitely not separated myself. So I thought maybe with some time, you know, like I can kind of like come back, and like a lot of those channels have gotten bigger, done bigger, better things. They're bright and they're over there, and they're doing Jordan shoots, and they're doing all these fantastic things. And then maybe if they're so distracting over there, I can kind of like sneak back and do my own little thing over here, you know? And I'm excited. I'm really excited about that, because I think that'll like keeping it just like pure and just for me and a couple hundred people who actually care will make it fun again, you know? We'll make it a lot of fun. And then the other end of it is just like, it's kind of pulling back the veil on what I've been doing and what I'll be doing moving forward, and like getting to actually share that excitement with the people who care, you know? Like, hey, it looks like I've been gone for 8 months, but this is what I did over the last 8 months. This is what I'm doing in the next 8 months. You know, come along if you care. You know, if you want to rock with me or whatever. You know, if you want an unboxing or a this or a that or a whatever, you know, they're all over there.
Yeah.
But you know, this is kind of what I'm going to be doing over here, and I hope it like resonates. But the great thing about having taken 8 months off is it like really doesn't matter if it does or not. You know, I don't owe anything to the 7,000 whatever subscribers that are still there. I don't know anything to anybody. I literally haven't been doing anything as far as they've been able to see for 8 months. So I'm just happy with the freedom that provides me, and looking forward to doing something cool.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, this shit has to be fun to you to do it. Like, I don't think that you should be that wrapped up into this, that this is something that you feel is obligated that you have to do. You know, taking time off, you know, is necessary. But like I said, you can always go fucking backwards on YouTube. And
yeah, like to me, YouTube is just a social network. Me and, you know, Crispy Coil, have you ever watched that channel?
Can you repeat that channel again?
The Mr. Crispy Coil.
Oh, hell, Crispy.
Yeah.
Crispy got me into runners. Like, I love that
Mike
channel.
and I talk quite a bit, and we always laugh because people are always checking for us. But to us, like, it's just a social network. Like, not putting up a video feels exactly the same as not updating my Facebook or not tweeting today. Like, it's not like I don't feel like it's a job. He doesn't feel like it's a job. We're not trying to win. Like, you see other YouTubers all the time, like, winning, staying focused on the goal. They're always tweeting, like, these weird motivational posters like you used to see in your guidance counselor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just get up and work harder than yesterday. So, no, like, to us, it's just a social network, bro. Like, if we post and you see it, cool. Hit the thumbs up button. Let us know what you thought, you know? And we're always cracking up laughing at that. So, to me, it's like, yeah, YouTube is a social media network, just like Facebook. I haven't logged on in a while. I look forward to going on there and putting some shit up, and hopefully you vibe with it, you know?
You know, I definitely like what I see from the content that you put out, because, like I said, it's more like a reality fucking show into your life. But
I want to put more of that too. My family's hysterical and shit. Like, I want it to go more in that direction for sure.
And you should even, like, because I know you love food, and everybody who at least should know should know that you're into the whole food thing. So I'm pretty sure somehow that shit is even, I mean, because it was already tied in anyway. So, you know, me personally, the reason why I like it is because it's not so narrowed down to that one thing that everybody's fucking always look at. You know, it's more about just what is your daily life like. You know, and there's definitely, you know, and it's definitely interesting, man. So I'll definitely I'm gonna put the link in the bottom to your YouTube channel, and I hope, you know, that people would just, you know, check it out, because it is something very different. And, you know, just you know, one thing that I enjoy about you is that, you know, and this is like what separate, you know, like you and even like people like me and other people, just because I do it doesn't mean that I can't be criticized about what it is that I'm doing. Like because I'm doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's fucking cool. It's just that this is something that I it's just 100%. Something that I enjoy to do. You know, it's just like the same, like, you know, eating cereal. Everybody eats fucking Lucky Charms. There's no fucking secret to it. But I enjoy eating Lucky Charms, so that's, you know, that's why I'm choosing to eat this particular cereal box. So it's like, you know, you're definitely one of those people where you do what you like, but you could also criticize what you like as well, because it's not that, you know, it's
I urge all these like too cool dudes, you know, the types, like they don't respond back on Twitter. They're just like, you're just too cool, man, too cool. Oh, look at your jeans. They make fun of your jeans and they're worried about what shoes you're wearing. So I urge all of them to remember that being a man who was in the shoes hasn't always been cool. Comic books used to mean, like, my comic book addiction used to mean that I had to outpedal all the bullies that were waiting for me outside the comic book store to beat up the nerd. You know what I mean? It wasn't always Avengers coming out next year. You know what I'm saying? Being a mostly white kid in the Tupac in the back of the bus on my Walkman wasn't always like cool. It wasn't always like I was a wigger or whatever. It wasn't like, you know, accepted and cool. I urge everyone to remember that, like, this shit is not that serious. This shit hasn't always been cool. And I think a lot of what you see around you is just like real nerdy, dorky kids who never had shit, and all of a sudden
they have
everything, and all of a sudden they're cool kids, and they just don't know how to grasp it, man. I'm still just a fucking fat dude who loves Entenmann donuts, comic books, and kamikazes, bro. I'm just having a good time, you know?
You got to come to Philly, man. There's some very good donuts out here. I'll start with Federal.
Hey, I'm with it. Yes, sir.
I'll start with Federal Donuts. There's a place out here called Federal Donuts where they serve donuts and fried chicken at the same time.
I'm all over that.
And it's so, and it's so amazing.
Shout out Fat Kid Mafia real quick, by the way. I don't go a single day without wearing a Fat Kid Mafia something.
Yeah. You definitely gotta check out Federal Donuts. But man, I'll be honest, I definitely enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks, man.
You know,
you too.
Definitely check the guy out. You know, I'm gonna have my link in the bottom to his YouTube channel, and follow him on Instagram.
Yo,
too.
Check out the one before me, because you had the homie before me. Man,
Arrow Pooch.
Why is his name escaping me?
Arrow Pooch.
Arrow Pooch. Yeah.
And
shout out to Arrow Pooch. He put me on to some, talking about food real quick, man. Before I let you go, he put me on to some dope ass ramen out in LA. We had a good ass time. Him and Juice Manji. Shout out to those guys. Check out this episode, but then make sure you check out Arrow Pooch.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I love Arrow Pooch, and it's crazy because everything is a fucking pattern. Like, unknowingly, if you listen to that podcast, Arrow Pooch mentioned you and like a quick scenario, you know, that y'all was at LA, and like he was kind of just telling you in the direction that YouTube was going, and it's like, wow, now I have fucking you like on the fucking, you know, channel.
Oh, dude, we could talk for another hour about that trip, because I was out there shooting a commercial for Taco Bell.
Yeah, yo, that's what he said.
We won't even go there. Just shout out Arrow Pooch. Make sure you check out his episode too.
That's
man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Yo, I definitely appreciate you, man, and you know, definitely thank you for even giving me the chance, you know, to have this little sit down and interview with you. So definitely, you know, check out his channel. Feel free, I guess, to download my app. I know you have an app too, so feel free to download Killakicks. Do you still have like the Racslife app or no?
No, but if they follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or still on the YouTube channel, they'll hear this. I'll put it up for you for sure.
All right, cool. So like I said, feel free to download the free app, Killakicks, and this was great conversation. And till the next time, everybody, peace out.
Peace, bro.